Welcome to the session Introduction to Phone System with Microsoft Teams. My name is Thomas Binder. I'm a Senior Program Manager in the Teams product group. Before we dive into the content, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. If you're looking for additional resources and more modules, you can find them at aka.ms/Teams Academy. If you have any feedback for this session, please go to aka.ms/Teams Community, create a new post, and use the IT Pro training label so that we can easily find your feedback. If you have, however, feedback on the features, on how Teams behaves or doesn't behave, then please go to microsoftteams.uservoice.com and log your idea or vote on existing ideas. Please also note that Teams and Office 365 evolve constantly. We're adding new features and functionality, so be sure to stay up to date with our blog at ak.ms/Teams blog. You can also see on the slide when the presentation was updated the last time. The key learnings for the session today. The idea is that this session should give you a good overview on what phone system can provide to you and how you can implement it. So we are going to cover the telephony features that phone systems will provide to you and your users. Your users can be enabled for phone systems. They will get a rich set of telephony features, and your administrators will get the management tools and reports that they need to effectively manage phone system for the users. Also, there are multiple options on how you can connect your phone system to the PSTN. You can either use calling plans, a first-party offer from Microsoft, or you can use direct routing that allows you to use your existing PSTN infrastructure. Also, calling plans and direct routing can be combined as needed. For the session, we will follow the following agenda. We'll start with what is a phone system, talk about endpoints and clients, talk about the features that phone system provides to you, and then we'll talk about how you can connect phone system to the PSTN. So, what is phone system? Before we will talk about Office 365 phone system, let's take a look at a traditional phone system. So here you can see a traditional PBX deployment. The PBX is your phone system. It provides voice features to users, such as voicemail. It connects call between users, and it allows to send and receive calls to the PSTN, to the phone network. On the left side, you can see the endpoints. So these are the traditional phones that are connected to the PBX so that users can place and receive calls. On the right side, however, you can see the phone network, the PSTN, where you can send calls that need to be routed outside of your company. So again, these three parts, the endpoints users are using to place and receive calls, the PBX that connects the calls between internal users, but also can send calls to external users, and then the PSTN where all the external users are. And now we are going to apply this thinking to the cloud. In Office 365 with phone system, you can see the exact same building blocks. You have your endpoints and clients. Every Teams client can be an endpoint for your phone. The Windows, the Mac, the web, iOS, Android, or IP phones. You will be able to leverage PBX features in addition to all the other features of Teams that you know and love. The PBX provides you the features, the phone system, for all users in Teams with the appropriate license. And then we have our trunks, the connections from your PBX, from the phone system, to the public PSTN. And for this, you can leverage either calling plan or direct routing. Let's start with endpoints and clients. Here is again our picture of the traditional PBX deployment, and now we're looking at the endpoints. I want to double click on them. We have our rich clients, the Mac client, the PC client, the web client. We have our mobile clients, iOS and Android, and there are also IP phones. AudioCodes and Airlink are the two providers who have currently phones available, but please go to ak.ms/teams-phones for the latest list of available phones and phone vendors. Let's take a look at the phone system features. So now Here in our picture of the traditional PBX deployment, we are now looking at the PBX so that we can see what features does it provide to us. On this screenshot, you can see the Teams client from a Windows PC, and we'll use that to highlight some of the telephony features that it can provide to you. So here on the left in the navigation rail, you have this calls item, and this is really the menu item that will bring you to all the calling functionality. Once you click it, if your users are enabled for calling, then they should see something like the screen that we can see right here. Your own phone number is displayed in this line. That can be very useful, so in case you ever wonder how people can call you. Here, you can use a dial pad to dial phone numbers. Obviously, you can also just type the digits from your keyboard. In the upper menu, you can find contacts, history, and voicemail. The contacts menu helps you to access all your contacts. And then finally, if you click your picture, you can go to the settings, and that's where you can manage your call forward settings. Microsoft Teams gives you all the basic calling features that you would expect from any phone. You can place, receive, and hold calls. Calls can be initiated by name or number if the contact is in your contact list. In phone system, every user who will use phone system will have the ID, a direct inward dialing phone number, so that they can be directly reached with that phone number. Teams supports device switching, so if you have multiple devices, headsets attached to your PC, you can change them at any time. And you can set up distinctive ringing tones per call type. So you can configure it in a way that forwarded calls use a different ringing than calls that are directly for you. A couple more basic calling features. Federated calling allows you to call end users in other companies on their Teams client. For call history, we have two types of call history. The one is the user-facing call history, where they can see all the calls that they placed and received. But they also call detail records for the administrator, where they can see who called whom and how long was a call. Also, Teams allows you to escalate calls. So if you have a one-to-one call, you can add participants to these calls. Teams also offers some advanced call routing. So you can set yourself to do not disturb, and then all incoming calls will be forwarded to voicemail, except if they are coming from people who you have configured as priority access. Teams also offers delegation, also known as boss admin or call on behalf. You can configure one delegate to be the delegate for multiple bosses, or you can configure multiple delegates to be the delegates for one boss, or any combination of those. Delegation allows to configure calls to simultaneously ring the delegates or after a delay, and delegates can also place calls on behalf of a user. Teams also offers a couple of settings for call forwarding to forward calls or configure simultaneous ringing. When you want to transfer a call, Teams offers you to do a blind transfer or to do a consult or mobile transfer. If the call ID is known by your Teams client, it will show you the actual contact information of the person calling you. Otherwise, you just see the phone number. The call history will be documented in the Teams client. Phone system provides voicemail to all users. The voicemails will be delivered to the Exchange mailbox of the user. There will be also a transcript created for the voicemail, which you can disable, and you can optionally enable a profanity masking for the transcript. The voicemails can be played from Outlook or Teams. Exchange will be used for the deposit, compliance, and archiving of voicemails. Please note that you're using Exchange Server, then the Teams client will not be able to display the voicemails. So users have to go to Outlook to see their voicemails. If you are using Exchange Server, please note that the minimum supported version is Exchange Server 2013 CU12 or higher. Teams supports also call queues and auto attendants. This enables companies to automatically route calls to specific departments, teams, or people in the company. You can use attendant or serial distribution for the calls. You can configure the time when the call queue should be available. You can configure music on hold and custom messaging. On the right, you can see a screenshot of a call queue coming into a user. Service numbers. Some scenarios in phone system require high concurrency of simultaneous calls. Auto-attendant call queues and audio conferencing potentially need to allow hundreds of concurrent calls, and this is where we use service numbers. Please note that service numbers are always hosted by Microsoft, so you can get a new service number from Microsoft, or you can port in your own number. Service numbers can be toll or toll-free. So if you're using toll-free numbers, we will leverage communication credit to charge you for these numbers. Both number porting and communication credit will be covered in a different module though. In terms of administration for phone systems, we're providing you a graphical user interface where you can enable features and services and configure them in the administration portal. This is great to configure individual settings or small groups of users. We also offer you PowerShell for configuration. So there's full PowerShell access to script user enablement and configuration. And that's really very useful if you want to enable a large group of users. And it's also great to automate tasks such as user provisioning. In terms of reporting, Teams gives you a rich set of reports that will help you to understand if the service is used and what the quality is. The usage statistics will give you usage reports per workload, and that includes also PSTN calling. So you can see there how many users did how many calls in a certain time period. In terms of call quality, if the call quality of the calls is actually good, we have two tools. The one is the call quality dashboard, which provides you an accumulated view on quality data. You can slice and dice that by your needs, for example, by network segment, audio device, location, etc. And then there's call analytics, where you can look into individual calls. How we look at it is that usually you should, in a proactive manner, use call quality dashboard and run a number of reports to find out if the call quality is what it should be. And then you use call analytics in a more reactive way if a user tells you that they had a bad experience, so that you can look into that specific call. We will cover call quality in a different module in much more detail. Then there are also the call detail records, which give you information on who called whom and how long was that call. Here is an example of a PSTN usage report. You can see from left to right information like user ID, the phone number, the location of the ID, the called person, if the call was coming in or out, if it was international or domestic, the destination country, number type, the start time, the duration, the charge, and the currency for that particular call. Here you can see some screenshots from the call quality dashboard. You can see here the overall call quality, and you can see here a graph with call quality per month, showing in different colors if a call was good or poor. And you can also see the poor call percentage. Here you can see a couple of screenshots for call analytics. On the left, you can see a list of the calls that Amos Marble did. On the right, you can see the details for one specific call. Let's look at how we can connect phone system to the PSTN. Going back to our autonomy of the traditional phone deployment, we are now looking at the trunk portion. So we have in the middle our phone system, our PBX, and this needs now to be connected to the PSTN. Teams gives you two options how you can connect your phone system to the PSTN. The first one is called calling plans. It's a first-party offer from Microsoft, available in specific countries where Microsoft operates as a regulated utility to provide these phone services. You can find a list of these countries if you go to aka.ms/calling-plan-availability. Australia is a little bit a special case where we have a third-party construct with Telstra, where you get calling plans, but Telstra is providing the calling plan features to you. The nice thing about that solution is it's completely cloud-based. There are absolutely no requirements for infrastructure on premises. It's tightly integrated with Office 365 and phone system. It's important to note that you will either need new phone numbers that Microsoft will provide, or you can port your existing phone numbers from your current provider. The other option is direct routing. In direct routing, Office 365 will be connected with the customer infrastructure, and that means you can continue using your existing PBX or your existing carrier contracts. There's no need to port any phone numbers since you will still be owning these phone numbers. There will be a session border controller, an SBC, on premises that integrates with this existing PSTN connectivity. If you want to, this SBC can also be hosted by a partner, removing the requirement that you have actually anything physically on your premises. Let's go into a little bit more detail for calling plans. As said, calling plans means that PSTN connectivity is provided directly by Microsoft. So you have a single contract for all the features, including PSTN calling, and you have a single party to deal with if you need anything. The exception here is Telstra in Australia, who provides calling plan, but they are very tightly integrated with Microsoft. Calling plans allows you to use phone system with having no on-premises equipment whatsoever. So there's no SBC, no special server, nothing. Everything comes from the cloud. Calling plans meet all the legal requirements in the participating countries and regions. And we offer different calling plans. There are domestic and international calling plans. So if you have users who only call domestically, then you can go for the cheaper domestic calling plan. And then if you have other users who also need international calling, you can get international calling for those users. And you can mix and match this as required by your users. A little bit more detail on direct routing. Here on the very right side, you can see the user being connected to the phone system in Office 365, and this is connected over the internet to the session border controller. The session border controller then might be in turn connected to an existing PBX, some third-party voice apps as supported by the SBC. And this SBC is then connected to the via the voice trunks to the PSTN provider, which could be traditional phone trunks, it could be SIP trunks, whatever setup you want to have. For the phone system, it's just important that it's connected to a certified session border controller. Also, we are not going here into more detail, but there is a dedicated session on direct routing, and I highly recommend to watch that if you want to learn the ins and outs of direct routing. One of the main factors to impact the quality of your calls is the network. And if you're doing a phone system, if you're implementing phone system, you should definitely think about the network. And to be honest, if you're doing any kind of real-time traffic, just as audio or video with Teams, you should be looking at your network and get sure that it provides the quality that you need. If you're looking at the network, then we think about these three different parts of the network, which are all required to get your users from your corporate network to Office 365. Please note that we will cover this here only high level. There will be a dedicated session on network planning that will go into all the details, what the network requirements are, how you can test your network, and how you can plan for it. So on the very left side, you can see the enterprise network. This is where your users are. This is the network that you own and control. And usually customers can do here a lot by getting sure that users have the right bandwidth, getting sure that if there's any quality of service implemented, it's implemented to benefit teams. But then there's the interconnect network, the connector network that connects you to the Microsoft Office 365 network. This could be either the internet, or if you choose to deploy, it could be express route. While you cannot directly control this network, because obviously it's controlled by the provider, you have influence over it. Influence in terms of if a provider gives you a very bad service, you can switch the provider, or if the provider is interested in providing you a good service, you can talk to them to make this connection as good as possible. And this is something, it's customer selected, you selected the provider, where you should look out that the routing between your network and the Microsoft network is as optimal as possible. And then on the very right, we have the Office 365 network. This is a global network that has entry points all over the world, and it's provided by Microsoft. It's included in your Office 365 subscription, you can just use that, and it's designed to work with features, with services like Teams, and to provide you the best quality possible. As said, there's a dedicated session on networking that goes into more detail. So, the summary. If you want to plan for phone system, first you need to figure out if you want to use calling plans or direct routing. And in order to come to a conclusion, you should think about the following things. First of all, the user location. Are your users located in an area, in a location where calling plans are available? Well, if not, then you can't go for calling plans and you will have to go for direct routing. Next, what's your existing PSTN connectivity? Do you want to continue using, for example, your PBX because you're not moving all the users, or you have some services that you are not ready to migrate to Teams yet? Or maybe you have a contract with a provider that gives you very low rates and you would really like to continue using those. That would be strong points pointing for direct routing. Are you looking for a solution that is cloud only, or are you okay with running some on-premises components? If you're looking for a cloud-only solution, then you can go for calling plans, or you can find some partner who can host an SBC on your behalf. And ultimately, you can mix and match. You can have some users who leverage calling plans while others use direct routing. This could make sense if you have users in different countries and the different countries have different requirements. Or you can also combine calling plans with direct routing. So I can give a user calling plan for national routing, but whenever they dial international, they can leverage direct routing or vice versa. These are the high-level considerations. Once you know if you want to go to calling plans or direct routing, there will be follow-up modules that go into much more detail on all the planning steps for the individual solution. So, going out of the session, you should be familiar with the following. The phone system provides you with telephony features. All users on Teams can be enabled for phone system. Phone system will provide users with a rich set of telephony features. It will provide administrators with the management tools and reports that they need to effectively manage the phone system. To connect the phone system, there are multiple options for PSTN connectivity. Calling plans offer telephony services directly from Microsoft. Direct routing allows using existing PSTN infrastructure, and calling plans and direct routing can be combined as needed. If you want to learn more, there are more modules. You can find them at aka.ms/Teams Academy. And there is already another module on direct routing, aka.ms/Teams-direct-routing. If you have any feedback for this particular readiness session, please go to aka.ms/Teams community, create a new post, and use the IT Pro training label so that we can easily find this feedback. If you have any feedback on the features, please go to microsoftteams.uservoice.com and vote on existing ideas or create new ideas. And as said, Teams evolves constantly. We're adding new features, new functionality. Stay up to date. Go to aka.ms/Teams blog to always learn the latest and greatest about Teams. Thank you for attending this session.